There was this man named Roy. Now, Roy lived in North Carolina. He grew up in the Appalachian Mountains, and he was known around town as a moonshiner. Now, he said, there was this period of time where he had several stills that were located up in the mountains. And he said he kept getting busted, and they kept finding his stills and shutting him down. So he advised a plan to go deep into the woods and set up a still that was so far away that no one could get to it. So Roy goes and talks to this Native American in town who he knows. And this man knew the area like really, really well. And Roy starts asking him, is there a spot that would be deep in the woods that would conceal like me setting up a still and stuff? He goes on to tell him, well, my people know of a place, and we do not go there. It's considered forbidden. And he said, there are bad things that happen there, but we cannot speak about it. But if you go there, no one will find you. It's about a 2 days hike, and I'll draw a map for you. But he said, you go at your own warning, because I'm telling you, there's bad things there. So Roy said, okay, you know what? It's fine. He gets a couple guys, and they set off to the spot in the mountains. First day, they're hiking through this thick brush, and everything's going good. The second day, he said they got to some like really, really thick brush, and you could hardly see, a couple feet in front of you. And so all of a sudden, they heard like a scurrying sound of something very large, like moving through the woods. And he said the whole day they were hiking out to the spot, they kept hearing the. And he said, it just gave them chills because they could not see what this was, but they could hear it like going around them and following them as they hiked up to this area. So they finally make it to the spot that they had drawn on the map. And one of the things that Roy noticed was there was this clearing. And within the clearing were these large holes that looked like they had been filled in with dirt. And he said he could tell something had been digging in this area, but whatever it was fairly large because these were like 3 foot, 4 foot wide. And he said all of a sudden they started to hear something moving through the woods. And he thought at the time it was like another person or something. Out of the woods comes a deer. And he said the deer seemed very skittish and kind of like scared and nervous as it walked through this clearing. And he said all of a sudden it went by one of these holes that was like filled in with dirt. And it stood there for a second, stared at them, and the next thing they knew, this something came out of the ground and it dragged it under the ground. And he said it was there 1 second, the next second, like this deer was gone. And they're kind of like, what just happened? What just happened? And so Roy walks over to this hole that's like filled in with dirt, and he sees like 4 things kind of sticking out of the dirt. And he said the best way to describe it was it looked like a pipe cleaner, like these pipe cleaners were sticking out of the ground, but they were, the size of a baseball round. And he said all of a sudden they started moving, and that's when he realized these were the legs of spiders. And so he, runs out of the area, grabs his guys, and is like, hey, we got to get out of here. We got to leave. And they're like, what's going on? What's going on? And Roy said then he had to decide because it was getting dark. Do they hike through the woods at night or do they camp somewhere? So he decided they would camp. They set up their tents and everything and make a campsite. That night, while they were camping, all night long, he said they could hear like scurrying and hissing sounds like all around them. The next morning when they get up and they get out of their tent, he said their campsite was completely covered in spider webs. And he felt that them staying in the tents actually saved them because he felt like it confused whatever these large spiders or whatever they were that was out in this portion of the Appalachian Mountains.